It's a clinic.
Hi. Welcome back, everybody, to Hear Us Out, the Music and Media Blueprint, brought to you by myself, River, and my girl Lottie. And we got a special guest today, Christian McCurdy. What's up, Christian?
Yo, 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 what's up? What's up?
What's the
Blessed. I'm feeling good.
vibes?
Okay, before
Feeling
Yo.
we
good.
hop into this
We are so
though,
happy to have you here with us.
seriously excited. And I just have to give the story really quick before we get into it because Christian is one of the first executives I ever met when I first moved out to LA in 2018. I had been like social media stalking him because he had been working with Nisha. We're about to get into all this, but I was just like, I need to make sure I meet him when I get to LA. And I shit you not, 2 weeks into moving, he was speaking at an event, and I went up to him and I was like, "You don't know me, but I just moved to LA, and I want you to manage me," because he manages talent. And I gave him my little USB, and he was like, "Even better, email me the songs." Emailed him the songs, and within a couple days, he had sent me feedback on the records.
Oh man.
So that's
Really?
the kind of person we're dealing with today. I need to set the stage to let y'all
Nah, I
know.
remember. I have I might still have it. You had like it was a card too attached to the USB
Yeah,
to your
yeah.
face and logo with your hair. I remember. I had the whole thing. You know, it's crazy
Come on,
times.
Lottie, with the professionalism, shooting your shot. Come
Right?
on.
She had the whole thing. She had the whole thing on, and you done bloomed, and I love to see it, man. Love to see it.
I appreciate you.
We love this. We love this. So, Christian, tell us, how do you identify creatively and professionally in the world of music and media?
As a boss. It's like what nah I'm an executive, you know what I mean? I'm an executive, but I'm also a creative. Like I'm the a founder of Legion Management and co-founder of Anomaly. So that's really where I identify as an executive, but my background is in A&R and music, and I produce as well. So like I lean really heavily into the creative side, more than I feel like a lot of executives do, and I feel like that's important just because if you're making music and you work with people that make music, you should be able to speak their language at least a little bit. You ain't got to be obviously be on their level, right? But you should understand the basics. Same way if you the way I think about us, I'm kind of getting into shit now, but the way I think about us is kind of like a coach. You know what I mean? You're never gonna see an NBA coach not understanding the fundamentals of like what it means to play basketball and how to do those simple things themselves. Whether they can go and dunk themselves or not, they still understand the fundamentals and what it requires. And so I immerse myself in that. So I'd say to answer your question, an executive and a creative, bundled in one.
That's beautiful, and I want to say unfortunately rare. In this industry, people are usually one or the other. And I think the fact that you embrace both sides is why you operate the way you do with your talent. But let's take it back to the beginning because I know your roots are in Nashville, but you really got your start in music interning at Atlantic in LA. So can you kind of walk us through your career trajectory in the music industry?
Yeah, man. So yeah, I started in Nashville. I went to school for music in Nashville, or outside of Nashville, at a school called MTSU, and it was cool. It was a great school, very high level in terms of like the background and knowledge. But when I graduated, at the time, it's a minute. This is 2014. It's 10 years. Goodness, I just time done flew up on me. But when I realized that it's really hard to break into Nashville, you know what I mean? Especially, at the time. I think it's a little more open now, but being like a young man of color a young black dude, it was really hard to do that. It's Nashville's a really close community, and going even outside of like anything else, like it's an older game a lot of times. Like the A&Rs are a lot older, and I think it's starting to open up and get younger, but it was hard to break into it. So, although I appreciate and respect country music, my passion was always urban music and and pop music. So I just drove to LA one day and started fresh out in LA and took some time. I went to all these events to try to meet anybody and everybody I could, and that's when after a series of events, it took me a while. I was doing all kind of stuff. I was working for Comcast, but not really. It was like the person that you go into Costco and you see somebody like, hey, what's your service provider? You try to sell you, but you just want some paper towels. Like I was that guy. And then it went to club crawls in Hollywood Boulevard, selling club tickets, just hoping somebody wants to go to the club. It was just anything just to get some type of money. And eventually I started over and I humbled myself and I got another internship because I was trying to get a job. I was like, yo, I was doing some dope things in Nashville. I should be able to get a job at least. Didn't really work out for me. I couldn't even get an interview at all. I didn't get one single interview. So after me going to all those events and talking to people and just, showing who I was over and over again, which I think is very valuable. Lottie, obviously I've met you a while back. I've seen you do that kind of just either just be seen. That's half the battle, and so eventually I got an internship at Atlantic. I started over and that progressed, one thing after another, and I kind of became a studio manager there. And did you want me like to tell the whole trajectory or just like up to Atlantic?
Nah, go ahead. Give it to us.
Keep
Whole
yeah,
thing.
keep giving us
Going.
the real.
We in the mix. So boom. So I was at Atlantic. Probably took me almost a year to get there. And while I was there, I just kind of bust my ass every day and made sure that everybody that walked in the building saw me. I was at the studio, so I wasn't in the offices, but I was fine with that. I liked the studio better either way. Um, so I was there every single day. I'd be the first one there. I was trying to be, and I was always the last one out. And eventually, through doing that and bringing in good music, um, I became like a studio manager there, which really opened up a lot of doors, and that allowed me to meet everybody that walked in. They had to talk to me because that's how I was the person that you had to book your sessions with, so I had a lot of value there. And and I took a lot of pride in that position. And I would meet a lot of people, and I would try to align myself with them. So that kind of like my whole career, I would say, started there 100%. I met a man named one Gary Leon. Shout out to Gary. Gary was very tough on me, but he put me on so much. Like I learned everything I know about A&R in the beginning for sure through Gary, and a lot through my own management side as well. So Gary gave me a shot when no one else can, no one else did. So like I forever owe, my career, I say a lot of like my beginnings to him, so I have a lot of respect for Gary Leon to this day. And, it's a very good friend of mine. Um, but also through that, I met a lot of other people, such as a man named Josh Berkman, who is now like EVP, SVP, I don't know, very high up over at Republic Records. And back then, he was just kind of getting back into music, and he was Nicki Minaj's A&R and doing day-to-day management for I mean, not day-to-day, he was Lil Bibby's manager as well. So I became day-to-day manager for Lil Bibby, and I started running around with Josh Berkman, all while still doing the studio manager job. And then I also found a producer named Ism while I was there for the A&Rs. They signed him and they asked me to manage him. So that was kind of like my beginning for real as a professional manager. It was with a guy named Ism. And within a year, we got a hit on the radio called Party, which had Usher, Gucci Mane, and Chris Brown's song. And that song went crazy. And that was really like stamped. I was like, yo, I can really do this. Uh, Goodness. So forgive me. I'm kind of blending world because it kind of all happens simultaneously.
No, I love it. I love how long the journey is and how comprehensive it is. Keep going.
No, for sure.
Yeah,
Keep going. Yes.
I kind of tell people, right, when you really coming up, either just kind of be everywhere and do everything and humble yourself, because I was doing a studio manager position and doing basically assisting the A&Rs there as well, like that worked at Atlantic, some of the like, for the studio side of things, helping their calendar. I was managing this producer named Ism, trying to get him moving around. I was assisting Josh Berkman. And all those are unpaid positions, like if they could throw me money here and there, like they tried, but for the most part, those are all unpaid positions. I never, had any fight back for. I did that for a while. And then I got, through being there all the time, I was recommended for a position with LVRN. This is before LVRN was LVRN. This is very early stages. At the time, they just had, an artist named Rory, who was going really crazy at the time, and Drum. So this is right before Broccoli with Drum, Big Baby Drum popped off. Who now goes by Shelly. So that was another position, and I'm very appreciative of them, but I wasn't being paid much at the time either, for that position that I had. But that was my first kind of paid position, and so I didn't stop the other things. So I had like 4 jobs, assisting people at Atlantic, being a studio manager there, assisting Josh Berkman at this is before Republic actually, with his stuff and his day-to-day manager for Lil Baby, managing Ism. LVRN, I was doing a bunch of things, but through that, like, I met everybody I needed to meet in a I'd say a shorter amount of time. Like I'd wake up very early because LVRN is and was based in Atlanta, and I was in LA. So when they'd be up on their emails at 9 a.m., I had to be up too. I had to make sure that they were good when they were up at 10, 9. So that's 6, 6, 7 a.m. in LA. But then also I was with my producer in the studio to like 3 in the morning every night. So it was very like long days, strenuous. But if I had to do it all over again, I would, because the knowledge and the resources, the relationships I built, multiplied in a very short amount of time. So it allowed me to kind of really jump into things. You know what I mean? So
Not gonna lie, Christian, I didn't realize you was doing all that. I think I knew only about half of these things, but like to have basically 4 or 5, that could be full-time jobs happening at once, only getting paid for maybe one, and then
yeah,
working on
maybe.
two entirely different coasts.
Yeah, it was
Like,
it was it was a it
how?
was a and even in that, right? Like I kind of get in a mix of it. Like I lived so through majority of that I lived with a family friend in Covina. Um, so I don't know if y'all don't know what Covina is. So Covina to the studio was in North Hollywood. So Covina, this isn't West Covina, this is
Far.
regular Covina. So
Right,
it's
Covina's
further than
not close. I already know it's not close.
yeah. So like
LA native, far.
every day, yeah,
You
it was
was
about an
making
hour.
treks.
It was a trap, yeah. And so I didn't have no job or whatever. I came to LA with some money saved up, but I burned through that obviously just over time. But this lady was kind enough to not charge me, rent, but I still had to provide for myself all the other things, right? But that was an hour, about an hour drive every day, through traffic and everything to get to and from the studio. And me being broke, 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 broke. I remember it's funny now, but I used to like it took me exactly $10 in gas every day to get there and back. So $5 there, $5 back. And I remember um like there was multiple occasions where I didn't have the money to get back. I had the money to get there, and I would just hope that when I'm making runs for the artists at the studio, that they let me keep their change, because it was like rappers a lot back then, so they only worked with cash. So I always got back home, thank God. But it was definitely some crazy times. But once again, if I had to do it again, I would do it. I would do it all over again. So that was up till ism, and then from there, so now I started there, yeah, the beginning of 20, like end of 2015, begin 2016 was when I first became an intern at Atlantic. And then by the end of 2016, so a little less than a year, um, I had that first hit with Ism. And then the following year, 2017, is when I met Nisha. And thought she was very prolific, and that was kind of my plan. Well, it wasn't kind of, 100% was my plan. It's kind of cool explaining this. Now I'm thinking about. I was like, damn, I kind of spoke this into existence. But I wanted a songwriter the following year, and I met so Nisha kind of just she wrote a song to one of Ism's beats and sent it to him, and he played it for me, and I heard it, and I reached out to her, and um, literally 2 3 weeks later, had her in LA working, and we developed a relationship from there. And over a few months, I became her manager, and both of them kind of were blowing up together simultaneously after Ism had Party, and Nisha was just like this prolific writer everybody was talking about. And then I met Ant Clemens in 2000, the following year, 2018, and signed him. And he had a song called All Mine with Kanye West blow up. And every year I try to, I didn't, the goal for me wasn't to like have a billion people every year, right? It was to have, I wanted to sign one prolific person, somebody that I truly believed in, every year. And that's, up until this time, that's happened. So very blessed in that manner. But that's kind of the background. It's like the story of if what I did. And now, like I said, Legion Management is successful, I'd say, and definitely have a lot of room to grow. But excuse me, it's doing well, and have multiple managers on the side who've developed and are stars within themselves. And that's something that I take a lot of pride in. Is really just developing not only creatives but executives. That means a lot to me. And we also, speaking of which, even on the creatives, I like for them to understand the business as well and become executives in their own right. And that's what happened with Nisha Charles. Now we're partners in Anomaly Publishing, which is just taking off in the very baby roots, but off to a good start. So hopefully it does well and surpasses other things I've done before. So that's kind of the background up to now, if that makes sense. I don't know if I missed anything or left things out, but I feel like that's
Nah,
everything.
yeah. First of all,
Fire.
we need the TED Talk, we need the documentary, we need the
We need all of it. We need all of it for
we need
sure,
all
for
of it.
sure.
And this is one of the reasons I've always been so inspired by you because it's so obvious how hard you work. Like no one can say you didn't earn everything that you have
Appreciate
because like seriously, and like let's talk about you founding Legion real quick, which is the home of multi-platinum, Billboard charting, Grammy nominated and Grammy Award winning talent like Nisha and Jack, who've worked with Beyonce, Justin Timberlake, and that is the very short list. The very short
it.
list. I want to talk a little bit more about how you're able to identify and nurture the roster and achieve these kind of successes because every single one of them has hit it out of the park.
Yeah. I mean, I think is one, is work. I think a lot of times people miss that first step, right? It's work. But beyond that, it's God. I don't want to miss that, and also really just trusting my gut. Like that's a very important thing to me. Like, I always tell people like with like oh like who when I'm looking to sign somebody when I'm personally signing them because I have people I don't sign everybody now. I have other team members who sign people and they're doing well as I feel like they probably follow something similar, a similar model. But for me personally, it's very much somebody that I just need at least 3 songs within that period of time, that I can just play every single day and I don't get tired of. Like 3 songs I love, like that's because that just tells me a lot that I just want to like play over and over and over and over and over again. Like that's really what makes a difference to me in the long run, because if you're not a fan of your client, who I consider partners, then it's like, what are you really, what are you doing? If you can't listen to them every day, then how can you expect somebody else to? Whether that's an artist or a writer or a producer, it doesn't matter. So, and then I also try to find something that has unique to them. Like all of them have some unique things. Like Nisha had, for her, me at the time, it was her sauce. Like she has crazy sauce. Like her flow is crazy, but also she's able to go in different worlds, and then all I did is hone in that, like, okay, cool, a little bit of popular, let's really expand that and grow. And now she has songs with, Ariana Grande and Lady Gaga and so forth and so on, right? For Ism, it was something similar on his beats. It was something that was very, very different and very special. Or Jack Roshan, it was his musicality. When I met Jack, he wasn't even a producer, respectfully. He was a session musician. He met him in a session with, I believe, Ism actually, and he was just playing guitar. And I thought it was different, and I was like, "Yo, like, can you make loops?" And he was like, "I don't know, maybe." And he made some loops, and they were fire. And I was like, "Wow, this is special. Can you make beats?" And he was like, "I don't know, maybe." And he made some beats like drums, and his drums are ass. But we worked through it, and now I think he's one of the best. And he's taken off too. He's exec producing Ellie Goulding's project. He just got four on Beyonce's last album. Has a lot coming out with Kalani. He exec produced Charlie. He's going crazy, and that's just through him having that special talent and me being a fan of him, and him listening. That's an important thing too. Um, you know, Jack is all of them are very special people, but I feel like not having an ego and listening takes you so far. From people that may know more than you in certain categories. In the beginning, there were certain things I knew more than Nisha or more than Jack or more than Ann or whoever else, but um, you know, now, uh, you know, they surpass me in those categories. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna sit down and tell Nisha how to write a pop song. You know what I mean? Like she spent so much time at a deeper level than I have, so she has surpassed me greatly, and it's one of my most like I trust her as A&R more than most people. Even people at the highest level at these majors, right? Um, and that's because she like listened in the beginning and made it her own, and now I listen to her in a lot of categories. She still listens to me. We have a real partnerships, and that's like that with all my clients. At least I try, because sometimes there's people who are very talented but don't listen because they have an ego. And to me, when and this is for executives or creatives, I feel like, or anybody really for that matter, when you get to a point where you feel like you can't be taught anything, that you can't learn, that you know it all, it's like you've stopped your career at whatever point that is. You can't get any further, right? That's where you cap yourself. And I don't want that. So I can listen to anybody. There's sometimes I'll listen to an intern if I feel like they might know more different perspective than me. I'm asking for their opinion. So I don't ever want to have like that industry ear. So like, what is your like untrained opinion, or what is your, hey, you're in this category that I don't know anything about. What what does this mean? And that's how I feel like I continue to progress. And I hope that I continue to progress after that. And how all my clients I feel like have become so dynamic, because almost all of them, if not all of them, are able to perform high in multiple genres. Like that's a big deal. Like I don't like everybody has their specialty, but we can do anything. Like my team, we have hits in Latin, um, country, pop, Afrobeat, rap, R&B. It doesn't matter. Like that's a big deal to me. Especially now when the world is so dynamic. You go to Spotify, you can hear anything more than. When I grew up, turning the radio, you listen to your one or two radio stations that played that one genre, and that was it. That was the end of it. You didn't really cross much, or you'd be like a weirdo. Like kids at school would be like, "Yo, why are you listening to that?" So we're in a different time, so we have to really like mold with that, Jeremy. So yeah,
No, I love everything you're talking about, the coachability. And I feel like a lot of it even starts with you, right? Like just even what you're saying about how there was a point where you thought everything was kind of like one genre. Now you're seeing that it's crossover, and now you're helping develop talent to be capable of creating for all those genres. I think that's a beautiful thing because they learn from you, but you also learn from them, and then learn from any other like outside forces. Like that's awesome. And I agree with the whole you will stop growing if you decide that you know everything, because nobody knows everything. It's like even like everyone knows the story of like Kanye and Mercy, like how that's the intern, that's literally the intern on the hook. It's like sometimes that's what it takes. Like, hey kid, come over here and see what you could do, or what do you think? So that's real. But I definitely want to talk about the way things have progressed with Nisha, because just like learning her story, like she was in school, Clive Davis, she was learning production. She also is obviously a fantastic songwriter, worked with the Carters, Ariana and Lady Gaga, like you said, Cardi B, and so many more. Then also transitioned into her own artistry with Don't Say I Didn't Warn You. And now the two of you have co-founded this publishing company together. I want to hear more about the trajectory of those things. Like, how do you know when to pivot from one thing to another? And she still pretty much does all three or four. So how do you know when to focus on one aspect of the business versus other aspects?
man, I'm not gonna lie to you. That's one of them tough ones. You know what I'm saying? Like, people get on here and be like, "Yo, this I know every." Once again, that's a tough one. We still figuring that out right now. I think it's evolution. We're always trying to evolve. And Nisha in particular is a person who, like she likes to be excited and have fun. Like it's a very important thing to her. So it's like songwriting has always been a passion for her, and always something she's never gonna stop writing, right? But it's like, okay, cool. Like if we started doing her artistry stuff at a point where it kind of just fell. Once that's God, it kind of fell into our laps, you know. And when Beyonce left her on a song, so there was which is a great first song to have out there. Um, but was that
My
20?
Power, for those who don't know.
Exactly, My Power. So that was on the Lion King um, soundtrack that Beyonce did, and so Nisha was Beyonce decided to leave her on the hook for My Power, and when we worked with her, um, the first time actually, Beyonce told her, like, yo, you have the one of the most beautiful tones, like that I've ever heard. So it's like Nisha's like, oh shit. Well, if Beyonce tells me maybe I should look into this, because that wasn't something that we had in the cards originally. It wasn't like some things we planned, like Nisha and I in particular, we planned things 5 years in advance, right? Everything we've done up to this point, just about we've known that we were going to do. But that in particular is something that she wasn't really on board with originally. That's something that I wanted her to do, but when Beyonce said it, it's like, okay, cool. When Beyonce's putting me, I can't
If
stop now. So
Beyonce said it, it's fact. It's law.
it's fact. It's,
Period.
it's not even an argument at
You
that
gotta
point. It don't
follow
matter.
that.
If
Period.
Beyonce says, "Listen, the sky is pink," I'm gonna say, "I like you
You
right,
right.
100%."
I
Like
see that too. I see that
you
too.
right. I see that too. That is that. I love pink. All things pink, by the way. Did I tell you? So that's really like that's really what it is. So Beyonce told us that. So she really dove in and started working on her project, and at that time, and that went really well, and it brought a new level of excitement and creativity. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're working as a songwriter, you have to kind of it's partially a service job, right? So you have to be able to tell the stories of somebody else. But then she can tell her own story, and she don't gotta hold any punches. She gonna pull back. She can just be her true, authentic self. So we did that, and we put out a project in 2022, and more music coming soon if it's not already out. So we did that, and it did well. Ended up on top for our first project ever. Ended up top 5 on Apple Music, R&B, and was incredible to have that feeling and getting people to really be fans of her. And she followed up with a tour last year and or around that time, so that was really dope. So it's been great. And then the Anomaly thing, same thing, just always evolving and learning more. She signed a producer on her end named Serge Dior, who's absolutely incredible, dope, 100% a writer producer, and worked with a lot of big names. And they had a relationship, and she signed him, and I already had Jack Roshan signed on publishing to me, and we thought it made sense to come together and just join forces there because we're already helping each other out separately. Like she was doing things for Jack early on, and now Jack's taken off, but early on she was helping out Jack, and I was helping out Serge, so we came together and formed Anomaly, and it's done well. And now we have another writer signed to us named Vaughn Waters, who's incredible and has a lot of exciting things coming out as well that you'll hear from very soon. So yeah, like that's kind of where it is. But I wouldn't say like we are something that we just immediately know. Sometimes things speak to you. Sometimes you plan things out. Sometimes things just speak to you. And in that case, that's where that kind of came from. It was something that was spoken to us, and when that happens, once again, you got to listen. So yeah.
That's crazy. Listen. Anytime it's so crazy because like Nisha, I hope never has imposter syndrome because again, the Beyonce, Giselle, Knowles Carter, like tell me nothing after that.
No one.
Crazy.
I would be.
Nothing. I don't care. Like if I was her, I don't care what you say. I don't
Right.
care. You don't like my voice today? I don't care. Beyonce likes my voice. It don't matter what it is.
Right.
I don't care what happens in life. I'm good. If Beyonce, don't let her tell me that. If I can sing better, say, yo, Christian, your tone is cool. It don't matter nothing. I don't care what happens. I could be homeless on the corner.
Right.
I'm like,
it don't matter.
I can sing. I don't even need your money. I'm good. Like, can't tell me nothing.
I
in
remember
life.
first hearing her on that and then the video, and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, man. Like, I just want everybody to know too, because Beyonce is such a given queen, given woman in all aspects, and people sometimes I don't think they understand. Like she's really like even with her latest project, really helped build careers up. People that like artists like Shabuzi, who was already having a moment, but I felt like she gave him a bigger platform that's allowed him to even take off with the music that he was already doing. You know what I mean? But was able to allow more people to see it, and it's doing very well right now. And or Nisha, who had nothing out previous, just gave her a real platform. And then didn't stop there. Like, hey, get in this video too. Like all those things. We didn't have to fight for that. She asked. Like, it's just, I don't know. Beyonce always. We owe Nisha and I both, and a lot of my clients, because thankfully a lot of us are able to get in there. Like Aunt Clemens was in there. Jack's done stuff. We know. So we are very grateful, and shout outs to her. She's just incredible. I don't want to hear nobody say anything of Beyonce. Don't give back because it's hands immediately. You know.
Listen, she's called the queen for a reason, and she's a generous
Period.
one.
Period.
That's for
100%.
sure. And so you had touched on this earlier, that you don't just develop creatives like artists, producers, songwriters, you develop executives as well. And one who I'm very fond of, Amal, has worked at LVRN, managing Tizo. She's definitely credited you as being like a very crucial part of her journey. She started at Legion actually as I think an intern and then became an assistant. And the craziest thing about her is that she's not even from the States. She came internationally to America to pursue things in music, and you really helped her along her way. Now she's continuing to crush it. What advice do you have for folks who have difficulty breaking into music, either because they're out of school or they're quote unquote too old, or they might not even be from here, they're transitioning from a different industry, but really want to get on the business side specifically? What kind of advice do you have? And also, what do you look for when you're bringing on an intern or some other kind of executive onto your team?
I mean, above all, like I would say especially back then. But above all, I say hustle. Like that's a very important thing. Like that's something I don't feel I can teach hustle. Much I can teach you, the quote unquote rules, which I don't really believe in all the way, but I could teach you that. I could teach you structure. I can teach you, how to maneuver, all these other things, right? Um, Paperwork, contract. I can teach you all of that, right? But I can't teach hustle. You either have that or you don't. That's something that's really instilled in you. And, Amal and all the other people that I've worked with have already had the hustle. They had hustle in them. And Amal, like, same way I came from Nashville, right? Other side of the country. Amal came to the other side of the world. She came from London, and had actually the same internship that I had, like before she started at Atlantic too. And Gary, shout out to Gary, said, "Yo, y'all should do something together." And I was like, "I don't even need an assistant. I don't need anybody. I'm good." Like I'm this is earlier in my career. He's like, "Do it," We're like, "All right, cool," and and it worked out. And but that was that hustle, and I would give Amal assignments or whatever else. She would jump in and she would do it, with all of her ability. Within I think one of the first thing I gave her was like, "Yo, we're throwing a party. I never did one before. You've never did one before. We're throwing a party though, and this is 2018. Yeah, we're throwing a party, and you need to figure this out." And she did. She figured it out, and we put through a party together that was incredible. We had a great time in 2018, and then after that, I was like, "Yo, I need you to make a Wikipedia for Nisha," and she learned how to code to make the Wikipedia. Which, for the record, you don't have to do that. She took the long route, but she didn't know, and I didn't find out later on. But she actually learned how to code to make a Wikipedia. But it's like that. It's that type of hustle. It's like when you see no's, you find a way to rearrange that to a yes. When you see a door, you find a way how to go, around it or through it. And she had those qualities, and a lot of other people on my team that I started out with earlier. Like I have a young executive who's now my head of A&R, named Alex Raphael, who started off as an intern as well. Same thing. When I first met him, for this time, I was looking for a new some interns, and I put in there, that they had to be locally based, and I probably had 100 submissions, and I got down to a couple of people, so I hired him and another um, woman named Stephanie Makia, who is now our head of creative. So both of them started as interns, are taking off and really running things, and and owe a lot of success of the company to them. But Alex didn't even like completely lie, right? Completely lie. I said you had to be in the base in LA, and we had a phone call interview originally. Then we met him in person, and he flew from DC, is where he was based, to LA to meet me at Soul House, and did the interview, and even interview. I thought he was still based in LA. And I picked him. I picked both of them over 100 people, but you know that right there is a level of hustle that you need. And and I found out the truth, obviously, but I didn't care by them, because it's like I was so impressed that, yo, like, you took the time to take a chance to fly across the country to meet with me. And we did. He was the only person. I did a remote internship with him in DC, but he was still always calling me and try to figure things out or moving on his own. Even if he wasn't calling, he was emailing. And now he's a head of A&R, and he signed some incredible people such as Hoops, who is a young producer who is a fucking monster. He's 18 years old, but has placements with Travis Scott. He did Topia 10's Travis Scott. He did Rush for Iris Star, Lil Durk, uh, I don't know, Young Thug. It goes on and on. He just did one Doja Cat's album, like, and he's an anomaly, no pun intended, just incredible, and that was completely Alex's signing, but that also is that hustle, you know what I mean? That hustle and finding somebody early, and figuring things out, and that's what it's about. So I don't know. Say all to say, what I look for above everything is hustle, and you just having that monster in you, because that's what it takes, especially in management, you know. And then from there, it's like you have to once again be able to listen. Like that's a very important thing, because I get people who come in who have hustle, but they have an ego, and egos, and I tell everybody, ego is career suicide. So um, it's okay to be confident, okay to be a little cocky even, but having an ego, I think, is a little bit different. Ego is when you're thinking you're better than somebody else, or better, too good to do something. And, I'm not. I was out here scrubbing toilets, for zero pay, and I was okay with it. I didn't, whatever it took to you just acknowledge, my existence at that point, right? And from there, whatever you need, going back to hustle. I lived in Covina. I told you with Gary, before I met him, before I worked there, I would just go to events and like say hi to him. I eventually got his number, and I would text him from Covina and be like, "Hey, bro, I'm in the area. Do you want any food? Like, I'm in the area. I can stop by, bring you some, whatever else." Before I wasn't working there or anything, and he always said no. But if he said yes, I would have driven. I wasn't in there. I was lying. I would have driven, took me in an hour, called the food on the way, picked it up, and delivered to him just to have that personal time. And I really feel like that's what it takes, and music in particular, but also in any business, any entrepreneurial business to be exact. You have to find a way. You have to, they say what they say about entrepreneurs. If you get pushed off a cliff, you're gonna build a plane on the way down. And that's really what you got to do. So yeah, man.
Tapping onto this entrepreneurial, journey that you're basically talking about right now, what would you say are some of the challenges that you have faced as a CEO, especially like those beginning moments of I'm about to do this and I'm about to be my own boss the same way I watched all these other people who had a hand in my career? Like, what were some of those challenges that you faced when you decided this was the moment that you were going to go do your thing?
Um, yeah, I mean, a lot of challenges. I mean, especially in music. I mean, me being in the position I'm in right now was me getting around a challenge. Like I started Legion not because I was trying to be the boss. Like I never really cared about that, to be honest with you. Like to this day, like being the boss ain't easy. Everybody wants to be the boss, but no one wants to sit down, do all the paperwork, and deal with people's attitudes and all kind of. It's like there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. Figure out solutions. Like I didn't care about that. I wanted to be the best. That was what I cared about, right? And I didn't care like whether that was the best side by side with somebody underneath some. I didn't really care. I just wanted to be the best, right? And I started Legion or founded Legion because I couldn't get a job. Like I told you before, I couldn't get an interview. In the places that I were like bringing me on for one reason or another, they weren't at the place to be able to pay me for one reason or another. And I'm not holding that against any of them. Like I said, I'll do it all over again. I'm very grateful for the position that I had. Um, so I started Legion because of that. Like because I wanted to give myself opportunity, and also I wanted to give other people like me opportunities. You know what I'm saying? Just regardless of how old they are, because you mentioned that earlier, or where they are. I just, that's what I wanted. Because I almost had to go back to school to go college. I almost re-apply to college just to get an internship because, you know, a lot of places you have to have an internship to have
You
school,
got to
which
be
is
in
kind of
school
crazy
to
when you
get,
think about it.
yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like just time out. Let's just think about that. It really like I
Please,
get it, 'cause,
look.
I get it. But like, let's think about it. I want you to break this down, right? If I go to school, if I apply to school to get an internship, that means I have to pay John, right, in order to work for Sally for free. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, I am paying somebody else. I'm paying this
So
person to work for
I'm
this
racking
person,
up debt to work for
right, to
free to
work for
not pay
you.
off the
Like,
debt that I
right,
just got to
like
work for you. Come on. I
exactly. It's like let me
just,
just work for Sally direct, and I'm like, and if I don't get paid, let that be up to me. And I know it came because people were suing and stuff like that, but it's just like leave. Like I don't know. I almost went back to that. Luckily, I was able to figure it out through a series of events. But either way, yeah. So that was a big thing when starting Legion. And then outside of that, it's like when I got into it, like seemingly things took off quickly, right? Like, obviously I was working hard, bust my ass for a year before I even got like really my first client. But outside of that, once things started rolling quickly in comparison to a lot of other people's record, I would say, or like track record or whatever it is. So I had a lot of people in my clients' ears saying negative things about me, like, "Hey, Christian's young. He don't know what he's doing. Like, you need to work with me. Like, nobody really knows him like that." And everybody knew me, but I was just like that young kid moving around town. So they were just trying to poach my clients. That was obviously, there's a lot of issues with that, that I had to deal with, or people that are, maybe a bigger level than me, bigger stature than me, trying to talk down. There was all kind of things, I had a lot of different issues or shit. If I'm really getting into the mix of it, like the way music breaks down, music money for those who may not be as deep into it, it's not, or entrepreneurial money, I should say, right? Because music money is different, but music money too. But you get into it and you get checks, right? You might get a big check for $30,000, right? Or let's use real examples. My first big check was for $30,000, right? That was my first big commission check, and for a deal that I did, and you know, I had just racked up in student debt and all kind of other things. So I'm trying to pay that off, trying to figure things out. That money didn't last me very long. I had to find a way to make money after that. It happened a couple of times, like I might make because I make 30,000 this month and nothing for the next 2 months, or maybe 100,000 and nothing for however long it may be, right? Because these checks that these artists get, that's how they go broke a lot of times, right? Because they get these big checks, like, yo, I'm lit. I made I got $400,000, I'm lit, but that's supposed to last you for 4 years. And if you don't have the education, you might not know. So me trying to figure out my life as a young adult, young man, I find out how to balance these things out and how to run a company because I didn't have, I never really had like anybody that did was doing what I was doing to show me. Nobody, I didn't have like a real mentor, in that aspect that told me this is what you do, this is how you do it. So I'm finding things once again, building the plane on the way down. Um, so there was times where like I was close to going broke and I had to make some things happen. Like that was a real hard part, while also not trying to like like I don't want my clients to know this either, not that they wouldn't have had my back if I needed it, but I would never want to do that. And also, I also didn't want to put in a position where I'm doing a deal just to save myself in order that we probably shouldn't do. Um, so that was a big thing that I feel like people don't talk about. It's like the money thing, like figuring out money as an entrepreneur in music in particular is really difficult because you don't know where your next check is coming from. It might come next month, or it may take 6 months. Some people might not come at all. Like you have to figure that out constantly. That's an ongoing, process.
How do you help your artists to kind of understand that, if you do, or if there's someone on the team who does? But like, let's talk about this money conversation. In the Hear Us Out community, we have a lot of up and coming artists who often come on the show and they talk to us about a lot of different things. But one of the things that we try to often give just like feedback or insight on is like, yo, when you get the opportunity, how do you help yourself set yourself up for success to not fumble it? To your point, you could get that $400,000 check and you may want to go splurge with all the homies somewhere. You may want to go do this thing. Like, how do you find yourself, kind of coaching your own team of artists and people that you work with on like just understanding like, yo, this is what you got to do to make sure you stay in this and sustain.
And I think also on the flip side, for people who are between checks, it's like, what do you do when the
That
money is
too.
running out? Because
And
we
you're
hear
waiting
even
for
the
the next
biggest
one.
artists go back to trap and go back to, out of desperation,
Yeah.
honestly, right? So it's like, what do you do in those situations?
I mean, it's not easy. The first thing I do is with everybody is like, for anybody that would wants to listen, right? Because some clients just don't have any interest in it, and I don't want to force it on them. I try to tell them, but it usually is the best when they do have interest in it. But it's education, on business, you know. Of course, like everybody wants to get in here and it's like, yo, I don't care about that. I just want to make music, and it's like, of course you do. I get that, but people forget the second half of music. It's music. It's music business. It's a business at the end of the day. So I try to let them know whether you're a writer, producer, this is your job. I think they forget that it's your job. So with job, you can make some smart decisions. I try to educate them on the business of their job. That helps out, but also having those tough conversations and breaking things down. It's like, cool, if we do this deal, you get $100,000 hypothetically, right? Your first check, cool. That's the more money than a lot of people, have touched in like at that point. You know what I'm saying? In their life, and definitely the most they've ever had at one time. And when you have that, it feels almost limitless, right? When you're used to having no more than a grand in your account, now you have 100 grand. That seems limitless. Like you're just good to go, but it's not. So, you know, it's always a struggle, or it can be a struggle a lot. Actually, especially with guys. Like it's interesting. Guys are much worse than women when it comes to money management. Um, and side note, like I always thought it would have been the women because you have like the purses and all the shiny stuff. There you go, the bust downs, like, everything, right? You got the hair, like, but it be guys. Guys are just dumb. I can say that as a man. Like we be spending money. Ironically, this is now beginning to the mix of it. Because guys, this is why I think women are smarter. Because guys, when we get the big checks, we spend all the money that I've seen with like men. A lot of, not all of them. I'm not gonna call it out, but some of them, a good amount of them, they end up spending it on women. So that be the number one thing. The women don't gotta worry about that. You know what I'm saying? So the men be spending their money on the women, trying to impress girls. And that's all that flying girl, all kind of stuff, and those those 1,000 here, 1,500 here, 2,000, buying stuff like those things add up quickly. And so I had that conversation with them, but also I try to tell them to be humble because everybody's like, yo, if you've been living, I had clients who may have been homeless before or been in a really tough spot or crash, whatever it may be, right? So you get this check, you want to like, yo, I've worked so hard for this, I want to enjoy it, and it's like, yes, but I try to give them like a big picture view. I don't think this is the end all, right? This is, as long as you listen, you keep working, this is a first step to a many staircase of success, right? We're not there yet. So Cool, you get this big check. Be humble. Just get something that you're comfortable in. You don't need to get a 3 bedroom apartment or a condo or buy a house or buy, like I've had clients who buy cars cash, right? And it's like, yo, half your money that you're supposed to last you 2, 3 years is gone now, and we get into it. Um, so I think it's really an education thing. I try to tell them as much as possible, but it's their money. They're adults. These ain't children we're dealing with. And sometimes, parents aren't helpful either. They want the best for their kids. Like, they worked hard. It's like, I get it. But, if you're smart and if you listen, you understand this is step one. So if there will be more of these to come, and you can, elevate, and, so you have two choices. You either can live life how you want to live, like at a high level for the next year, maybe 2 years max, right? Maybe, and then ends there, then you're broke again, and you have no more money coming, because the way these checks work is, they're advances for artists, right? So you get this advance, and before they give you that next check, you have to recoup that advance. So if you blow through all your money and you're not actually working, because that's another part of it, people stop working, they want to party. You're not recouping that money, which means you're not getting any more money. That money is gone. It doesn't just come whenever I hit a button. It's not just another $100,000 button. You have to work to get it back, right? So, people think that. I don't understand why. I break it down to them every time, but cool. You can live that life for a year and a half, whatever it is, or you can live like a more humble life for, a year or two, and then have a little better life for 2 more years, and you build it up, and then within 5 to 10 years, you're extremely wealthy. You're possibly a multimillionaire. You're able to provide for your family, right? And whoever it is, because sometimes it's not always women or jewelry or whatever else, or cars. Sometimes they're trying to give money away. That's a big thing too. Um, that men are also in particular more guilty of, and I get it, because we're taught to be providers, but something that my mother taught me early on is like, you can't build a house for yourself if you keep giving your bricks away, you know and that went a long way with me, and shout to Mom Dukes. That went a long way with me. I try to tell that to all my clients who, like, because once again, unfortunate, a lot of parents, when they see their children doing well, because they don't understand how the industry works, they say, "Oh, we've made it," and they like, "Now where's my piece?" Our family, siblings, cousins, whatever else, and it's like, that's not how it is. It's like, I have to build this up so that I can provide for you guys, properly. Um, so I don't know if I answered your question or not, but
No,
No,
it's
you
it
super
very much
helpful.
did.
Very much
cool,
so.
cool,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
And I think
I'm
it's especially
excited.
true, like you said, for folks who come from backgrounds where it's like, you see your family is still struggling and they're looking at you like you just got a 6-figure check and you're not holding it down for the, like, that shit is
Right,
hard.
right. It's a different, especially in our community. It's a different thing, right? But that comes to education. Like I've had some, I've gotten, not I wouldn't say gotten into it, but because I'm always very respectful. But I've some heads clashing with parents before. I'm trying to educate them as well on what this money is meant to be, and some get it, some don't get it. But you know, when in our community in particular, it's like, if we're not taught these things and we're just not taught these things. It's like, it's hard for you to understand it in depth. You know what I'm saying? So that's education is super heavy, or, you can, like, any of my family or my parents, like, the first thing they do would tell you when you get money is like, yo, invest it. But nobody really tells you what that looks like. You don't know what investing is. Where's the invest button? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not as simple as going to the stock market. And if you do, it's like, that's a long game, that you're not going to see the return from for 10, 20 years a lot of times. It can set you up if you do it properly, but it's not like, okay, cool, now it doesn't work that way. So because of the lack of education in our community in particular, I feel like it's a trickle down effect, and doesn't really allow us to know what to do with it once we get that opportunity. So, like, I'm really big on that. Educate not only my clients but the families whenever they're willing to listen. Because some people aren't willing to listen, and it's like, once again, these are grown people. I can't tell them anything, but I can try to show them examples. Like, hey, I have this client, I have this situation over here that did this, and which one do you want to be? And you know,
Yikes.
it's up to them to take that or not take that.
I
So
appreciate how real you are about this, and I love the fact about educating the family as well, right? Because these creatives, they don't exist in vacuum, in a silo, right? It's like they have parents, they have siblings, they have this,
yeah,
that, and the third. And so
you got a
it's
mouse to
important that
feed.
everyone understands what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yo, like, I can solve this issue for the next year, or I can set us up for life. Because I get it. Like, I'm big on family. I try to take care of my family, do things for my family as well, but it's like there's two sides of it, you know. Once again, do you want it to be set up for a year or for life? So a life takes a little while longer, but we'll get there as long as everybody keeps working and has, faith in the plan. And that's really what I'm big on a plan. Like I said, with certain clients like Nisha, for example, other clients as well, we plan things out. And if they don't do it with me because nobody wants to do it, I do it in my mind, right? So okay, cool. Like, as long as we're working busting our ass, let's do this deal. It's gonna last us. We can recoup this amount of money in this amount of time. Sometimes I don't always take the most amount of money. I might take, a half of it. Even though I could get more because I plan to get that money recouped in a short amount of time, and then go back and get triple. Sort of that same period of, let's say, 3-4 years. I can either take, you know, I can end up getting 4 times the amount of money over 4 years, if I take less up front. But that's like strategic planning that not everybody wants to do because they want that money now in their hands. But it's this game is still psychological and structural. There's a lot of other things that people don't understand. So I do that with clients. I'm like, cool, we have this, and by the time we recoup this, we'll have this. In the meantime, we have this deal over here we can do, and if you follow the plan, you'll be able to get there. And like I said, I have clients that are multimillionaires because of that exact reason. Because they understood the plan and they stuck to the plan, and and that's what it's about. And they worked because also, it's either way, it's a gamble because you can make that plan, but if you're not working, the plan's not gonna work. It's everything falls in each other. You know what I mean? So that's really where it's at.
Long game plays. Long game
Yeah,
Always.
plays at Legion and Anomaly.
yeah,
We
exactly.
love to see it.
Love
We
to
love
see
to
it.
see it.
And I would love to know what are some ventures outside of management, publishing, artist development are you working on that you're excited about that you can share?
Man, I'm about to get with you, River. We are focusing with me in particular. I think we're focusing really heavy on like film right now. I'm in the process of producing a movie right now that I'm excited about. Doing some strategic sync partnerships. There's still music, but really heavily on the film side as well to make sure the music's taken care of. Like, once again, planning things go hand in hand. But I'm really, really, really want to get deeper into film, and that's starting off for producing films. I want to eventually, be in front of the camera as well. You know what I'm saying? That's definitely a goal of mine. Yeah, look at, what I'm saying, we out here. So,
Oh, that
especially,
IMDb about to be popping. Hold on.
That's what I was about to say.
exactly.
We gonna have to. We on
Let's
a live
go.
recording
He
right
said
now.
I
We gonna
got a
have to have
face
a
for
whole
camera.
business
Y'all
meeting.
about to see it.
Wait a
Heard.
minute.
Heard that.
Trying to get
Yeah,
on screen? What we doing?
yeah. I don't even tell people that usually. So it's a little boom, boom, boom.
Okay,
Okay.
But
okay.
yeah, that's
This.
next up. That's like really why I want to dive heavy into. I know a lot comes with film. I know that's not, once again, definitely not easy. It might be even more difficult, but there's so much passion that I have for it, and and a lot of my team does too. So I definitely want to get deeper into that world, and that's the next category. So I'm setting up the company now, so certain team members can focus on running this side while I go and start new ventures, and that's
That
the
is
plan
so
that we have.
exciting. All right, River, Christian, y'all two gonna talk about that because
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
we gonna
because
have to.
Lottie know.
y'all
It's the
y'all gonna have to
overlap.
tap
It's the
in
overlap.
after
Yeah,
this for
we for sure.
sure. That is so exciting.
Man, I'm excited. I'm excited. But eventually, like the end goal is really, I'd love it to be something similar to like a Roc Nation, where it's a independent company that does so many different things. They do sports management, they do film and TV. Like, I love playing sports. I don't know much about, like, I can never, I don't even watch football. I'm not that guy. Don't talk to me about, like, yo, what happened. I'm like, oh my gosh, that was a crazy home run in that football game. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not that guy at all. But I am, like, I support it, and I have people on my team who do know those things. So I want to get deeper into that world eventually too. But I think that's a little bit later down the line. But definitely Roc Nation is a great example, for the model, I'd say.
Definitely,
Just
and I think
get
it's
the
a lot
Bleacher
of
Report app.
power.
Yeah, there you
Exactly.
go. Right.
You'll be straight.
Yeah.
You'll be straight. You'll be
Yeah.
up to
Like,
speed.
oh yeah.
I
Yeah. I'm
think
the
it's a
guy.
lot of power though in that. Like I think
Yeah.
it feels like a very organic and natural next level of evolvement for what you
Right.
already have built, and it'll open up crazy
Yeah.
opportunities. I think one of the cool parts about just being in the entertainment industry as a whole, all aspects, sports included, is like you really start to see like and it's funny. We say it in every industry. In sports, they be like, "This is where the real money is." In music, they're
Yeah,
like, "This is not necessarily where the real money is."
yeah,
You ask me, TV film,
uh,
that's where the real money is. This is it.
yeah,
Well, it was before where we are right now. Stuff is a little
yeah.
wonky, but it's
Lots been
okay.
going
You
on.
feel me?
Lots
You
been
buy
going
in when
on.
the market is low. That's what I'm telling
Yeah.
you right now. You
Okay,
feel
there you
me?
go.
So you might
Yeah,
want to let's start laying these bricks because it's low
you're
right
right.
now. But I do think that that's a really healthy like next step, and that excites me to hear that, just because you all have so many like nice and just different things going on. You have different genres that you're touching on, and there's so much that can just come from marrying the film with music that I'm really excited about that for y'all. Now,
Yeah.
our favorite question on this show: what is one gem or multiple gems, any gems that you would drop for rising creatives who are looking to chart a similar path as you?
Man, I'm gonna be real. I might have dropped a couple of them already. I mean, like, everything goes. Look, you know what it is? Be humble. I think if I had to just really do that, that's what I would say. I'd say two things: be humble and innovate. Right? Where it's like, people a lot of times they let that ego get in the way of like things. They miss opportunities because they let their ego get in the way. I just told you I had about 4 or 5 jobs at the same time that allowed me to, respectfully propel, over people that may have been in a higher position than me at one time, right? And that's because I was very humble. I didn't care what it, you can make your jokes, say what you want to say. I don't care about none of that. Just be humble and keep going, because people get those egos and their career ends. It doesn't matter if you're an executive, songwriter, producer, artist. It doesn't matter. Be humble, stay humble. And to this day, all of, not everybody. There's a couple people like, Kanye got, I may not be that humble, but he's humble in a lot of some aspects. Like, he still takes advice from everybody in the room when he was writing a song. That's humility within itself, right? But all the people that I meet with the ego are usually the newer people, and I've seen it, right? It's always funny to me. The ones who are like the legendary people, they're humble. They're the nicest people. They're kindest people. You'd be surprised. It's always the people who just got an opportunity, or the new A&R. New A&Rs are the worst. They way worse than artists. New A&Rs, like, and I just always laugh because a year goes by and they're gone every time. It never fails. So be humble and innovate. I say in the innovation part is because, try to create something new. Like people, and I get it's hard. It's not easy. So many things have been done. But you know, I feel like if you're innovating, you'll be around a lot longer than if you just try to follow somebody else's model. And nothing's wrong with taking inspiration from sounds or someone's career path or whatever else, but it's gonna work differently for everybody. Um, so it's those things. And oh, one more, boom, I'm done. Be like water, which means flow. Flow like wherever it needs to be. Allow yourself to feel whatever mold you need to feel. But they all go hand in hand. Like innovation, humility, and I feel like in order to do both those things, you have to be like water. You have to be like like I said, like certain things with Nisha's career path, she was like water. When things come, opportunities come, you're able to flow into that path, seamlessly. So people just be stubborn or stuck in their own head, and that this is gonna be this way. It's like, nah, you can have the same plan, because I'm also a believer in like not making a plan B distracts from plan A, but you can make that, but be humble and fluid in your approach to how to get there. It might be a completely different you know, trail than you thought, different path than you thought. So, yeah, man, those three.
I love it.
Mic drop.
I love it. Mic drop. There's
Mic
nothing
drop.
else to be said. Nothing else to be said. Nothing else. Like, we love to see it. We love to hear it. Be humble.
So many gems dropped in this.
Just flow.
Like
So many.
I learned
so
a lot
many.
myself today. I was like, I didn't even know.
Right?
You
I'm
love
sitting
it.
there like, okay, noted. So how can we be supporting you? How can we be supporting Legion, Anomaly? Like, how can the Hear Us Out community? How can myself, Lottie, how can we be supporting and amplifying what you guys got going on?
Okay, well, I mean, what I say for sure is listen to the artists, man. So, we do a lot of songwriting, producing. We also have our artistry stuff as well, which is currently it's going to be an artist named Lou Calla, who's incredible. Really, in my mind, redefining pop. She's a
Love
African
her.
woman, Canadian African woman doing incredible things, making pop music. Like it. She's like what you don't when you think of pop, or what the world tends to think of pop. It's not what they think of, but I think pop started with us, and that's what she's really bringing back and redefining. So listen to Lucala. Our music is very positive. Listen to Nisha, man. These are her artist music, and Legion merch. We have some cool stuff which I'm not wearing. I should have been smart. I should have been like Rick Ross and had all the things laid
Them
out ahead of
hats.
time. I
Them
didn't do
hats.
that, but when y'all see this, I'll have it. Check out our merch. We have some cool things coming up. So yeah, man, that's how y'all can support. And you support us, we support you. That's what we do here.
We love it. We gonna get the Legion merch on the next one.
Thank you so much, Christian. You're amazing. I love you. Appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you. So much dopeness.
Thank you, River. Pleasure meeting you, man. Like I said, we locked in too now.
Yes.
Yes, sir. We got some stuff to talk about for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Hear Us Out, the Music and Media Blueprint, brought to you by River and Lottie. If you love what you heard, hit that subscribe button. And of course, make sure to join our Lay Low community for exclusive updates and behind the scenes access. Now remember, friends, keep going, stay motivated, and stay inspired. You got this. We believe in you. See you next time.